This is for in room, not them. Number 2. Testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Test 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2. Testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I was a little close there, sorry. Testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
So, what are we working in Mexico?
Hey, what's going on here, man?
Better safe than sorry, right?
Testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4. Thank you.
But he's getting
Yeah, how are you? How about yourself? Did we get, what do you call it? Okay, good. Yay. How's the pros and menus?
They're good. How's everything?
Oh my gosh, you guys are so I don't know if I You're good, thank you. Yes,
hiding out.
Oh, the big ones, I wanted to try it. They were closed. Yeah. It's like this turn though.
It's like you're really, that's
Yeah, we're going to be recording this, and just make sure when you ask your question, Laura, Sean, and I get to you.
No, I don't put it.
Hi, Councilman. Hey, welcome back. Welcome back.
Thank you.
I have that box in my office.
Awesome, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. One side or both sides?
Good morning.
Attorney's over there. Attorney's over there.
Okay, we ready? All right, good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here. Since this bill was drafted and long before many folks took notice, we were preparing for the inevitable and to defend our interests here at the City of San Antonio on behalf of our citizens. These things take time, but here we are. The Texas Constitution gives home rule cities the ability to create local ordinances. And in an attempt to seize that power, lawmakers have overstepped and abused their authority with HB 2127. As a result, the City of San Antonio has filed suit against the state of Texas to challenge the validity of House Bill 2127. The city has filed as an intervener in the City of Houston's suit. We are in solidarity with other Texas municipalities. In addition to being unconstitutional, this bill has and will continue to create widespread confusion and uncertainty. House Bill 2127 is so vague, no one really knows the full specific repercussions of it, so it will be tested in the courts. We do not surrender our community's right to self-governance, and that is why it is necessary to challenge this law in court. The Texas legislature has attacked local control and our citizens' right to self-governance repeatedly in recent years, and HB 21 is the most recent sweeping attempt yet to consolidate power at the state capitol. This is big government overreach, plain and simple, and it demonstrates the dangers of a radical agenda being codified session after session at the Capitol. City council members, chosen by local voters, work daily with residents to understand their community's unique needs, and they do so far more than lawmakers in Austin. Legislators from the Panhandle don't have a grasp of San Antonio neighborhood issues. Does anybody really believe that a state representative from Dalhart understands the needs of inner-city San Antonio? City council members see neighborhood issues up close and in person. That's their job. And they deal with residents' concerns on a routine basis. House Bill 2127 doesn't just strip power from city council and city government and our local community. It rips choices about our community from the hands of local voters. San Antonio voters can replace city council members if they aren't getting the results they need, but they have no say in choosing the vast majority of legislators who support this kind of destructive legislation. In addition to being a blatant attempt to usurp the will of municipal voters, HB 2127 is so vague, again, that nobody really knows the full specific repercussions, although it upends 100+ years of governance here in the state of Texas. Next, I'll turn the podium over to City Attorney Andy Segovia.
Thank you, Mayor. Good morning, everyone. As the mayor noted, the City of San Antonio this morning filed suit against the state of Texas to challenge the validity of House Bill 2127, which is often referred to as the Super Preemption Bill. We filed suit as an intervener with the City of Houston's lawsuit, so we'll be in the same court, the same judge. And as the mayor mentioned, we did it in solidarity with the over 300 other Texas cities who are home rule cities as well, and who are also facing the confusion and uncertainty created by this bill. House Bill 2127 is an improper attempt to rewrite the Texas Constitution. We are a home rule city, and we are a home rule city under the Texas Constitution. The Constitution gives home rule cities like the City of San Antonio broad authority with only specific restrictions as to what we can't do in terms of governance. On the other hand, general law cities are only given specific powers or specific authority to enact ordinances. So we're kind of like the complete opposite of a general law city, at least up until HB 2127 comes into effect. The unconstitutional vague language of House Bill 2127 takes the power away of self-government from home rule cities. It essentially delegates any home rule city's power to the courts, in that individuals can challenge city ordinances based on HB 2127, and we will be faced with litigation and continued ambiguity and vagueness. Ultimately, city taxpayers will bear the brunt of these unanswered questions under HB 2127 through protracted litigation. As the mayor mentioned, elected city officials represent their constituents. If an elected city council member acts contrary to what the citizens want them to be doing, then they'll face challenges in terms of reelection, may not be reelected. So there's ways that we currently have under local government to address if the people believe that their elected officials aren't doing what they need to be doing. So obviously we do not take this challenge to HB 2127 lightly. We know we're embarking on some pretty robust litigation. The state will vigorously defend HB 2127, we know that, but we feel very strongly we're correct on the merits. I'm going to take the opportunity right now to thank the legal team, specifically First Assistant City Attorney Liz Provenzio, our Head of Litigation Debbie Klein. We've been working closely with our local counsel in Austin, that's Scott Douglas Mecanico, and of course we appreciate the support of the city manager, the mayor, and the council, as this will be quite a journey we're going to be embarking on. We're just starting right now, but as I said, we feel highly confident that we will prevail.
All right, that's it. We'll take any questions that you have.
You've said repeatedly that this is so vague, we don't know exactly what would happen, but at this point, I think people want to know, are there some examples of what are some things that actually would be prevented, things that are on the books, things that the city had been considering?
We've gotten that question a lot. We're not going to self-select ordinances that may or may not be impacted by 2127. Again, I want to emphasize how vague and ambiguous HB 2127 is. I've told other people before, I could hire 20 very highly reputable attorneys to give me a list, to have them comb our city ordinances and give me a list of what HB 2127 would impact. I'd get 20 different lists. That's how vague and ambiguous it is, and we're not going to start the game of trying to self-select what ordinances may be impacted.
So self-selection regardless, so isn't there any type of grandfathering that would protect things that are already within city law, city ordinances that the Death Star bill wouldn't be able to touch?
Unfortunately, there's no grandfather clause in the Super Preemption Bill, so it would apply to not only ordinances that the council will enact, but current ordinances on the book as well.
Hi there. Asset Texas, which represents a number of organizations such as the Hispanic Contractors Association, Texas Restaurant Association, therefore HB 2127, a lot of the debate has been whether workers are going to get water breaks, those kinds of things. They say, obviously, with this new law, all the workers are still going to get those types of breaks. Is that what we're concerned about? And how do you feel about such a big nonprofit organization that represents so many workers is for such a bill?
You want to hand this a policy one, Mayor?
Sure. Well, first of all, again, it's about more than one specific ordinance. What this does is essentially takes the authority away from City Council to address a concern such as what you're talking about, water breaks for workers. But this extends far beyond water breaks for workers. What I would suggest to any organization that is looking at a specific piece of legislation that they don't like and casting this broad brush to say that we would rather have the authority not given to the City Council to actually govern in these things is that upends the entire process. We're talking about not just labor code, we're talking about property code, we're talking about several different areas of City Council authority now that are stripped away, not just in that one area. There are remedies for specific ordinances that are challenged, and quite often we see that being the case, where a specific ordinance goes through a process legally to find out if it's valid. This upends the entire process altogether.
I wanted to get an idea of the cost of filing alongside with Houston. Are y'all able to talk a little bit about if you are hiring like outside counsel, or y'all kind of using the lawyers that Houston is using? What is that looking like right now?
We do have outside counsel, Scott Douglas Mecanico. They're located in Austin, which is the same place where we filed our action today. The cost will depend on the way the litigation progresses. If it's one where we have motions that are quickly heard, it could be less expensive. If we have something that's more protracted, it'd be more. So right now, I don't want to hazard a guess on terms of the specific cost, But obviously, as we progress, we'll keep you apprised of the costs as we start incurring it.
Hello, Mayor, can you answer this perhaps, of why San Antonio residents should be concerned about this filing of the lawsuit? And also, is this going to stall any future implementation of ordinances? And what happens after September 1st if this litigation isn't resolved by then?
Well, I would say that there's two primary concerns for San Antonio residents. One is that the concerns that are quite often given to us to address through city council members are now going to have a degree of scrutiny to where we're going to have to think about, well, is this going to potentially be in an area that's governed by state law? If it is, then there's going to be potentially a chilling effect on us being able to address those concerns. Now, I will tell you the approach that we're going to take here in the city of San Antonio is that we're going to still do our jobs. We're going to still move forward and address the concerns that residents have. Now, the other concern that they should have, the other primary concern, is that there's going to be endless litigation now on things that any specific organization might disagree with or any individual takes issue with. They can now file suit against the city to prevent us, or in some case retroactively take away the authority we have to govern in those areas. Therefore, we're going to be spending a lot of tax dollars just trying to defend the city on any of the things that we are doing to protect the interests of our city residents who have brought to us those concerns to address in the first place.
Mayor, can you talk about the city council's approach to ordinances specifically? I mean, you mentioned this legal action could take a while to play out, you know, if you're waiting for residents or businesses to sue and to see if particular ordinances, and you say you'll do your jobs in the meantime, but what does that mean more specifically? Are you going to continue to pass ordinances or do things and still sort of wonder about the effect of them and wait to be sued essentially, or?
Yes, we will. Unfortunately, that's the byproduct of the confusion that's out there, is that we still have jobs to do. If there are residents who are concerned, for instance, about dangerous dogs or 18-wheelers parked in the middle of neighborhoods, we're gonna do our jobs and try to address those issues. But there is a high degree of uncertainty now whether or not there are going to be some folks out there that might disagree with the things that we have to do and might end up in litigation. Now, I can tell you that our legal department is going to probably be working a lot overtime to provide recommendations on ordinances, but at the end of the day, we've got to do our jobs.
This is a question for Councilwoman Castillo. So, thinking about the rest break ordinances, water breaks, things like that. I mean, you've talked to people, you've tried to champion this ordinance. You know, I mean, how does this affect? I mean, I know the answer to that, but I wanted to see like what people are telling you when it comes to like this type of bill that would preempt something that the city has done that would defend them in getting water breaks and things like that.
Ultimately, what we have is an ordinance that we know San Antonio workers and workers throughout the state of Texas need to ensure that they're able to return to their families. And when we talk about the need for a water break ordinance, that's ensuring that a worker has an opportunity to drink water every 4 hours. And ultimately, when we talk about the need and the death that we're seeing in the state of Texas, we must continue to move forward to ensure that all workers in the state of Texas who are outdoor workers are protected, and I believe that's the path forward.
Following up on the same water break thing, Mayor, you had mentioned we're going to keep pushing forward, but my understanding is, can you talk about how, for example, that water break effort was scaled back? I think Mayor or Councilwoman Castillo, if you could answer that.
When we look at the Bill 2127, it's important that we recognize that it does cause for preemption, which means that all workers will not have an opportunity to have that water break. So in order to navigate this bill that undermines the democratic process, we need to ensure that when we have city contracts, that we provide that worker protection. So that's what that looks like moving forward, is ensuring that if a contractor receives city funding, that they are required to provide that water break.
Right, but can you talk about how that is now? That's the current iteration but I believe it was scaled down because of this. So can you talk about how it
Yes.
changed and why?
When we look at water break ordinances in the city of Austin, for example, that's a water break ordinance that applies to all contractors rather. What we have here today, because of the state, is a water break ordinance to support and protect workers who receive city contracts.
We have time for one more.
This might be more of a question for Jeff Coyle, but was the city of San Antonio able to meet with the bill's authors or get any changes into this bill as it was coming together?
We'll get you that information. Okay. All right. We'll be available for individual questions as well. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
And just so you know, I think we may still be live streaming. All right. So, Councilwoman, can you talk about the water break, what was originally being thought out, and then how it got scaled back? Was that a direct result of HB 2127?
Yes, so when we look at other municipalities in the state of Texas who have implemented a water break ordinance, what that ordinance looks like is ensuring that all workers in that city are protected, right? What we have now in the city of San Antonio is a proposed ordinance to protect workers who are receiving city funds. So ultimately, rather than an ordinance that applies to ensuring that all workers are protected, because of the state's actions, we've had to scale back to an ordinance that protects workers who are receiving city contracts.
That's what I wanted to get at, that it was a direct result and that you all were considering something similar to Austin originally.
Correct.
Okay. How long has that been in the works? Because I think that was Councilwoman Sandoval who put that forward, that CCR, a while ago.
Yes.
You've kind of taken the torch on that.
So a couple months ago, Councilwoman Ana Sandoval and both Dr. Rocha Garcia initiated the conversation to explore how to protect outdoor workers. And through the democratic process, here we are having a conversation about a water break ordinance.
Yeah, can you talk about, your feelings on this? It's something you've brought up multiple times in council, whether not just at the committee meetings, and having this effort, what you were kind of hoping to get passed, stymied.